his slave. And you will work for him because you know you got to pay bills.
That's right.
And when you walk in there and say, I just bought this brand new car for $60,000 and I just bought this and I just bought that, he says back, he says, I don't have to worry about you coming to work on Monday because I know you're going to be here. Nair, thanks to, again, my beautiful wife. One day I was on the telephone and this, excuse me, mother. Oh, this ain't a bad word, redneck. No, this.
Don't say it.
Kicked me off on the phone, and I went off on it. And the wife, I heard me. She was back in the back bedroom the last several years before I retired. I was working from home, so I went off. And the wife, after I got off the phone, she said, "You really got upset." Yeah, I said, he don't talk to me like that in front of people all over the country. And I let him know, don't you ever speak to me like that again. And my wife said to me, she said, I don't know why you so upset. You don't have to work. You can come home. I said, what? She said, you can come home. We'll be fine. We don't owe anything. You can come home. And I'm telling you, it shocked me because I had that chain around my neck to work. Now, June, I'll be 70 years old. And I'll be honest with you, I'm tired of working. I did work and support my family. Now, let's talk about credit cards. Credit cards, you got to have them, but people are making millions of dollars off of the interest of credit cards. God's will was for us to be debt-free.
Right.
And one of the reasons God's will was for us to be debt-free is he wants us to focus on him. And if we're focusing on Visa, card payments, and whatever, we can't focus on him.
That's right.
And I know, when I come into this church and I know the burden is on this church, I'll be sitting there on Friday night, everybody shouting, having a good time. But every time I see a new person sit at that organ or sit on those drums, first thing I say is, how much is that going to cost?
Yeah. That's right.
Who is that person? Who authorized that person to be there playing? I'm looking at money. When I see a new person walks in and they going to preach, first thing pop in my mind, shouldn't be that way. How much is that going to cost us?
Right.
You know, so I want the church to be debt-free. Now, one of the things that we have to take into consideration, when I was looking up my data and researching, you know, statistics shows that 2% of kids between 12 and 15 are getting deep into debt. Or 7%, by the time they're 16, 17, they have got all kind of credit cards. My daughter, when she come out of they introduced cards to her when she was in college. And when she graduated out of college, I said, give me that card. Me and the wife, we paid it off. I hope she hasn't gotten anymore, but she's grown. And I asked her about her business. She said, I don't talk to you about my personal business, Daddy, so I back off. But when she was in the house, I knew exactly what she was doing. But I think she's doing well because we taught her, pay your tithes, pay your offering, and support the church. And she has done that, and she's prospered, and she's done well.
That's all right.
My experience, I've told you that ain't nothing worse than to come home and you got a beautiful bride upset with you. That's stress. That's stress. It's embarrassing. It was embarrassing to me to be in debt because I wanted to be her real thing. I wanted to be her man. I wanted to be able to give and do things for her. I was depressed because my wife was upset. My wife, as I said before, came from a family that they believed in paying tithes. She came up in predominantly Church of God in Christ. They paid tithes and they did all of that stuff. I didn't. I came up out of Baptist, in a particular Baptist area that they partied hard.
Yeah.
Forgive me. And they spent a lot of money. She came up believing that her strength came from the blessings of God. I came up thinking my strength came from the mighty dollar. I was wrong. But we had to compromise, come together. We must have got something right because we've been together maybe 47 years. Let's talk about fear. I lived with fear when I was in large amounts of debt. Fear And somebody's going to come take your car. Somebody's going to come and take this. You got a bill collector looking over your shoulder. You got children, the whole bit. I just did not want to live that way. I'm going to tell you the way I was raised by my parents, that I was told that's the way you're supposed to live. But I had learned from my wife, you don't have to live that way. She kept trying to tell me, honey, there's a difference between need and greed. There's a big difference. I want to talk just a few minutes about who is debt. Who is Mr. Debt? This debt that I'm talking about. Debt has caught people in this trap of overspending, and they are poor stewards of their money. Before we can defeat debt, we must know what debt is all about. What is it trying to do? We must shed a light on debt's identity. That means myself and the wife, we had to sit down and look at each other and say, what is going to make us happy and have joy? And we come to the conclusion, paying out every dollar that we made to somebody else definitely wasn't making her happy camper. She just didn't like that at all. Signs of debt and disease. We must be able to recognize it. When we get involved in debt, we lose our faith. And Romans tells us that faith is the product of hearing the spoken word of God. How are you going to hear that word when you come here on Sunday morning and when you know the bill collector is calling you on Monday morning? And I had to learn that the hard way. It's a good feeling waking up in the morning and you don't owe anybody. You can even hear the birds sing. I didn't know there's birds in the backyard. There's birds out there. There's squirrels out there. They're out there chirping. I didn't know that. But all those things are there. Okay, we need to understand what debt is trying to do to us. See, when you become faithless, debt begins to kill your vision and your sight. That it's possible for you to live debt-free. Satan wants you to believe that you have to be in debt. Because if you're in debt, you go from one job to two jobs. Do you pay off your debt? No. You build up more debt. And what he's trying to do is to drive you away from the church.
Right.
Now I'm telling you, for many years, when I wake up in the morning, I didn't think about the Bible. I didn't think about prayer. Now she's been praying the whole 47 years. But I was worried about how am I going to take care of these debts. But I wake up there, guess what? First thing I say, thank you, God. He is the first thing on my mind. That debt was blocking me. Now, she carried hers openly. She get upset and she gets sick. Me, I carry mine down here. There ain't nothing bothering me, honey. But it was bothering me. You know, I could not focus with a lot of debt. The effects and ramifications. Financial problems are the major reason that people get divorced in this country. Because they won't sit down and deal with that issue. Debt is the devil's twin. Now, if you go to John 10th chapter, 10th verse, God declared that the devil, it was a person that come to kill, steal, and destroy. Now tell me what debt does. Does it come in and teach you Sunday school lesson? Does it come in to kiss you? Does it come in to hug you? It comes in to destroy you. But it messes with your mind. Now, I walked around like everybody else, say, ain't nothing bothering me. I'm doing fine. I'm drinking my Jack Daniels. But in my quiet moment, I was worried about that debt. And Satan wanted me in that position because it wasn't until I was out of that debt that I began to do what? I could hear what was being said in the church. I could hear what pastor was being said. And the more and more, the closer I moved to God, the further I moved away from debt. Also, debt is soul.
That's good.
It's around and it's moving and it's like a roaring lion. If you don't watch it before you know it, it will eat you alive. And you got to know that. Debt is an enemy of God. Why is debt an enemy of God? Because if anything causes you to focus more on it than God, what does the Bible say? Someone talk to me. Is it anything in the Bible where God said you can focus on it more than you can me? No. Then we should not, as Christians, put ourselves in a position that we cannot focus on God. Debt's goal is to keep us from finding, fulfilling, and furthering God's will that he wants us to do. God has a will for us. He has things that he wants us to do. Now I want to take this a few minutes. When we were enslaved, our ancestors were enslaved, that certain things happened to our family. Now I want to show you the correlation between slavery and heavy debt. The debt divides the family. Did not slavery do that? Debt causes you to live in fear because you lose control of your life. Were we not afraid of the plantation owner? Debt robs you of a dream and a plan. How you have a dream of a plan as a slave when you can't pick where you want to go, you don't go. The wife was sitting there this afternoon and said to me, she said, the Church of God in Christ is going to Israel. I didn't know that. She was going through that computer looking. So they're going to Israel in August. Is it August? I said, do you want to go? I don't know. I said, well, if you want to go, you can go. Because that debt has not blocked us from going. Now, I'm not here boasting. I said I'm using us as an example, so I don't want anybody to think I'm talking about your business.
Right.
I'm talking about my business as an example. You understand where I'm coming from? Okay. You are forced to work hard and little and get no reward. I worked nearly all my life. I've been retired for 2 years, and I'm happier than I ever been for in my life. Anybody tell you that work makes you happy? I had the wrong job. Mine didn't make me happy. It's not like the purpose of debt and what is it after? The perverted purpose of debt is to rob you of 8 areas. And what is it? Debt wants to move you away from worship. Debt does not want you to focus on God. Doing the praise and worship instead of thinking about God, debt wants your mind on Visa bill, phone bills, and late house payments. That's what debt wants. He doesn't want you to focus on God. Then another thing I'm going to throw in here real quick. Now, Malachi, I used to hear Mother David say it all the time. I said, what is he talking about? She would say, you pay your tithes and you give an offering and God will bless you. I said, that is not what they taught me in the Treasury Department. They taught me your money is your money. And I said, what are they talking about? But it is true. If you pay your tithes, if you pay your offering, if you give seed money, God will bless you.
That's what he said.
He will. I'm telling you, 15 years ago when I come into church, I was not in the position I'm in there. But I paid my tithes and my offering and given seed to the church, and he has blessed us. He has switched. So what I'm trying to tell you, she's right.
Yeah.
Now, what was whispered in my ear when I first came here, but watch yourself, Daniels, they're trying to get your money. Watch yourself, Daniels, they're doing this and they're doing that. That ain't nobody but Satan. And I learned in Sunday school, Satan is a lie.
A lie.
Sunday school.
I learned that. Am I right or wrong? Will Satan lie?
Yeah, he's the father of.
He's the father of lies.
Yeah.
And guess what? I've been listening to Satan for 50 years. Quit listening to him. He's lying. Other thing we have to think about, we're supposed to be a witness. We're supposed to be a witness the way we carry ourselves, the way we are in our neighborhoods and everything else. If we got the bill collector up there, taking our TVs out, taking our cars, what example are we setting to people who don't go to church?
Right.
We say, why should I go to church if that's happening to them?
Yeah, right.
But see, what Satan doesn't tell that person is, I tricked him, I got him in debt, and that's why they lost. Thank God, out of church and had nothing to do with that.
That's right.
That's good
But
teaching.
we have to peep that whole card. Warfare, we got to have warfare. We got to fight, a good fight.
Yeah.
Debt's going to take your family name. you got to remember something. If you hold a dollar that can make the difference in a church, but you put it in debt, you are stopping the prosperous of Jesus Christ, what he wanted. Because give an example. If somebody had not been supporting this church over the years, I would have had no place to go and learn. I didn't learn it at work. I didn't learn it in the world. I learned it in here. I kept hearing my wife talking this stuff, and I'm drinking Jack Daniels. I said, is she hitting the bottle? So where is she getting all this stuff from? So finally I said, I'm going to go and hear it for myself. Mm-hmm. And the best thing I ever did. Things people believe about that. Listen at this close, because I was bad at this. Debt will always be a part of life. Who is there talking about you can't have all that debt? Everybody has debt. Yeah. You attack debt by making more money. More money you make, more debt you're going to have. Debt is never accumulated based on how much money you make, but it's how you spend your money. That's the key. Credit cards, that don't cause you to spend more. That's a lie, say lying again. I looked up the research. People who have credit cards spend 35% more than people who don't have credit cards. Right. I'm not saying you don't have a credit card, because you may need one to go to a hotel or something. Yeah, but I'm saying just loading it up. All you're doing is helping Satan. If you pay a minimum payment, that's okay. Yes, it's okay, because I buy investments that give me dividends for how much you pay in interest. Right. You're making somebody rich when you do that. Okay? Spending is like drug abuse. It provides you initially with pleasure, but eventually you got to come back down. God is going to perform a miracle. Yeah. I hear it all the time. God is going to wipe this debt out. Now, he must not have been watching mine, because he didn't wipe it out. You know, although it is possible that God may have a miracle to counsel debt, you must qualify. In order to qualify for God to wipe your debt out, it has to be need. It has to be that you paid your tithe, you have paid your offering, you have planted a seed, and then you stand the possibility of your debt being wiped out. Right. But your debt will not be wiped out. With you out partying every night, jacking up the credit card, then coming and dancing through the church and say, Lord, relieve me. It don't work that way. It didn't work in my house. And if you figured out a better way, let me know it. Or other one, I can borrow my way out of debt. Forget that. You can't. You can't. And everywhere you look, you got the quick loan. I had people calling me, and still calling me. And sometimes I heard the wife, my wife don't tell nobody that, but she get these sellers. But Mrs. Daniels, we want to offer you a chance to refinance your home, and you can have this excess money for this and that. And she's sharp. She said, you telling me that I don't work 20-some years to pay my house off, and you're telling me you want me to get more and back in debt with you again? Forget you. Yeah, right. I'm not going to do it. The process of why people get in debt. Most people acquire uncontrollable debt overnight. We talked about the tide, the interest pulling you out there. But the real reason why people get in debt is greed. Yes. Now I'm going to tell you myself, greed was mine. I get this album, I used to come home and try to sneak $500 worth of blues and jazz album into the house without the wife seeing. I wait for her to go out to grocery or something, then I ease my $500 worth of jazz albums in, and then I'll be sitting up drinking my Jack Daniels and playing my music, and I didn't know she had a photostat. Remember, she said, when you get that album? That's not a part of your collection, that's new. I thought we agreed you ain't gonna buy no more albums. But the greed, see, one of the things you have to learn that Satan is lying to you. Satan tells you that greed will satisfy you, but he will not. I don't care if you buy 1,000 pair of shoes, you're gonna want another pair. I don't care if you buy 100,000 dresses, you're gonna want another. I don't care if you buy 100 1,000 gallons of Jack Daniels, you still gonna want another drink. There's only one thing that can fill that void where you don't have that greed, and that's the gospel of Jesus Christ, the Holy Spirit.
Well, teach, Deacon.
And Satan don't want you to taste it.
No.
Because if you taste it, you're going to step back from the world and say, oh my God, how long did it take me to get there?
Yes.
Now, the other thing I want to tell you is that greed is the most powerful desire known to man. The Bible says, Proverbs 27:20 verse, hell and destruction are never full, so the eyes of a man are never satisfied. Never satisfied. Do you hear me? Never satisfied. I don't care if I buy a brand new truck every year. I'm going to want another one. Because the flesh focus on greed. Greed will cause you to take all you get from your family, from your friends, from your church. Now, when I bought all those 500 albums, I wasn't trying to hurt Marty. I was just wanting to sit back and listen to my music. But she said, you just spent $500 on an album. Where is the milk for the baby? I remember one time we came out of the trailer and I'm sitting there, I had a 68 Mustang 4-barrel. It was the baddest thing in town, 68 fastback. Yeah. It was me. I had the baddest wheel. I could spin rubber a mile down the road. I drove up in front of the house to pick up Martha and Angela. And Angela came out with a coat on where the sleeves were up to her elbow. And I said to Marty, I said, where's that coat? She said she don't have one. What do you mean she don't have one? I bought her one 2 years ago. Jane, she outgrew it. She outgrew it. And guess what I did? I turned that Mustang around on a dime, went to town, sold those tires, and bought my daughter a coat. You know, you're freezing what Satan had tricked me into. Impress your friend with this bad car, 390 4-barrel Holly. Spin rubber down the road and show them how tough you are. I used to come home racing sometime and run that car so hard that it would sit in the yard and the radiator would blow. My wife said, you've been racing again. I said, no, I haven't been racing. Yes, you have. That radiator, it just blew up. Because Satan had fooled me.
My.
He told me, don't worry about your wife. She can't make you do nothing.
That's right.
That's what Satan will tell you. And at the same time, you're killing your wife and you're killing your kids because you listen to Satan. Yeah. But if I didn't come into Sunday school, I would have known that Satan comes to kill, steal, and destroy. And that's what he was trying to do, destroy my marriage. And I'm not going to allow debt to destroy my marriage. That's what I decided. Which did I desire more? That Mustang or my brown sugar laying close to me at night, being happy? I preferred my brown sugar laying close to me at night. I hope I didn't say that wrong to them. I don't want to disrespect you.
Right.
But that's what I desire.
That's the most valuable.
Yes, the most valuable is my wife. Sometimes we want immediate gratification. Now, here's something I want you to realize. Now, in spending, you should always buy what you need.
Yeah.
Now, the problem that and I got to move through this quick. How am I doing on time, honey? You don't know. You ain't supposed to be listening. You're supposed to be keeping up with the time. In spending, you should always have priority spending, meaning this. When I came home, I took my money and bought what I wanted. But that's not what you do it. That's not what we do it now. The first thing we do, we pay our tithes, we pay our offering, seed money in there, and we invest the bottom line. But the bottom line, you got to set priorities with your money. Satan will tell you to throw it away. Okay? I'm just about through with this section. Now, the other thing I wanted to tell you, you must have an emergency plan. Where there is no plan, everything becomes emergency. Now, we've tried something for many, many, many years. We always keep $1,000 in emergency. And there hasn't been anything that needs to be fixed, a washing machine, a tire, anything that we couldn't take care of within that $1,000. And basically what happened, we weren't paying 18, 19, 20% on that, which allowed us to save more. A sign of wisdom is planning. Loan finance companies are getting rich. Because we won't plan. Because we set the wrong priorities. The power of debt. Why is it so hard to break from debt? One of the reasons, we want our social status. Now, I think sometimes you take it to the extreme. The wife tells me, James, you dress like a hobo. Why don't you buy a suit? And I got to improve on that. Because I'm like this. If that thing's going to turn into rags in 10 years, I ain't putting all my money into that. But I still need to dress better. And she gets on my case about that. I want you dressing better. I promise you, honey. I don't know when, but I'm going to do better. Debt only requires you to pay the minimum payment. That's a lie. And interest is going to kill you. Debt is accepted by normal society. That's not true. Rich people don't do that. Interest rates and fees is nothing to be worried about. Debt is easy to get, and we fall for it. People like the feeling that comes from purchasing things. I'm telling you something. When I purchased all those albums and slide up in there, and B.B. King was saying the thrill is gone, I felt good. But after that song got through playing and that Jack Daniels was off, and Sweet Mama started buzzing, I said, I don't think I should have did that. You know, the plan requires us to get out of debt. It's too complicated. You can get out of debt, but you got to work at it. I got to get to the point to show you how to get out of it. People don't like being without money. Ain't nothing wrong. But I got to the point there, and Sister Regina gets on me all the time. She said, you never carry money. Because I learned something. You showed me a person with a pocket full of money. A week or 2 weeks later, I'll show you a person that ain't got no money in there. So I don't carry money in my pocket. The other thing is, how am I doing? I'm doing okay? Okay. The other thing I want to say, the plan to defeat debt, you must face it. Me and the wife, we sat down and talked about it. See debt as hostile to the enemy of God. Understand why each debt happened. How did I get myself in this situation? You must see the benefits of being free and out of debt. Oh, I feel good. Be accountable to someone. Now, a lot of men that I talk to, they must have been lucky because they said they don't have to be accountable to their wife and they don't have to be accountable to nobody. But they ain't married to the woman I'm married to. But she always has said to me, I will follow you anywhere you go. As long as I can see you know where you're going.
That's right.
And when you get to the point that you don't know where you're going, let me off of this thing.
That's right.
And she made that perfectly clear. My daddy took good care of me, and I am not begging you, but you will take good care of me. I didn't understand that in the beginning, but I've been with her for 47 years, I understand it now. Destroy the roots of the problem. Make cash persons, not only don't charge and everything. Control your spending and identify the weapon. Now, that's a possibility of some things that debt can do. You can borrow from yourself. You can use tax benefits. Now, I have talked to you about what debt can do. Now, here's what I'm going to talk to you about. I'm going to tell you, not only, I've been sitting here talking all day about debt, but I want to talk to you, next thing I want to talk to you about is how to get out of debt. Now, I want to talk to you for a few minutes about Craig Hill, 5 wealth secrets. That's what we want to talk about for just a few minutes in here. 5 wealth systems. And this book, I strongly suggest everybody read it. And it comes out of the Bible. That's where it comes out of. Now you say, what are you talking about? Marty, give me my jar. Give me one at a time. Here's what the Bible says that you should do with your money. How am I doing on time?
It's 7.
Let's move.
20.
Okay. Okay, is this the first one? The first one that this book speaks on is you pay your tithe. Okay? Marty, the second jar. I'm gonna fire you. The second jar. The second jar this book speaks on is paying your offering. Third jar. This what rich people. No. That's my water.
There's two here.
Oh, I'm finna say, you only got 2 jobs?
Okay.
Which one is it? Oh,
Third one. Is that third one? The third one is, it says that you save. Okay? What's the fourth one? The fourth one says you invest. This jar, you put 10% in each jar. This jar, you put money in that it multiplies itself. Savings, you put money in that it adds. And offering for God to bless this jar and this jar. And tithe is to bless this jar and this jar. You with me? Now, last jar. Okay? It's spending. Now, let me give you an illustration of what I'm talking about. Marty?
yes.
You got $20. Now, how much goes in this jar? 10%. $2. Okay. How much goes in to offer? $2. Okay, that's 10%. How much goes into saving? How much goes into investment, which multiplies itself with buying stocks and stuff which you like to buy? Okay? Now, how much does it leave us for spending? Whatever's left. How much is that? $6. Now, this is how people get out of debt and people prosper. But the biggest problem the survey has showed is that the first thing that people do when they get paid, they put all their money into the spending jar. You're doing it backwards. The Bible says you put it in tithe, you put it in offering, and you put it in savings and investment, and then you spend. Now that's what we do. And I'm telling you, we don't want for anything. Now, I want to go to how do you track this? Mighty Hope, come and get this, honey. Everybody follow me, what I said here. Okay. Okay. Now, well, how do you and Mother Daniels do this? We're using ourselves as an example. Well, one of the ways that we do this by tracking our expenditures. The first thing that we do is we pay our tithe. The second thing we do is that we give an offering. Now, that we offering includes seed money. Sometimes we may see something we need to do to help the church or help somebody at the church or whatever. That seed money, all that's in there. If we see the church, that's where our offerings come from. We have investment. 10% of every dollar comes in the house goes into an investment jar. That's not including the investments we already have, but every dollar that comes in the house, we take 10% out before investing. The next thing we do is 56 envelopes that we have that we track. Now, let me tell you something. What I'm getting ready to talk about here is how you keep people honest. You know, we always operate on the premises that, what's the best way to explain it? This lady right here, she wants to know that you're doing what you say. So I had to come up with a plan to make her feel good. Here's the plan that I use. The plan that I use is I use Good Budget. And in using Good Budget, my wife has the same identical, and don't act up on me this afternoon. My wife has the same identical program. See, the devil don't want me to show you this. Won't take but a second. But the wife, pull yours up, honey. Okay, I got it now. The devil, he ain't gonna stop us, but we're gonna show you. Now, here's how this works for us. How do we track and stay on top of what we're doing with our money? For example, the wife received her Social Security today. Now, we've been busy trying to get ready for the presentation, but it's an understood code. You spend no money until you plan the money. Well, the first thing we do, I don't care if it's my pension or what it is, when the money comes in, what we do, we pull out these forms and we go down and we say, I'll ask her, how much money is for tithe? And she'll look at the check, 10% goes to tithe. How much is for general offering? And we'll put that in there. We ask Sunday school, how much to go in savings? She'll tell me. How much goes in investment? Then the next one she has is grocery. She got a certain amount she wants for grocery. We look at energy bill. Then we look at the seed money. How much we gonna put in for seed money? For example, I bought those books. I said, I want to use this for the class. She said, that's seed money. I said, well, I'm going to sell them so I can get the money back. I talked the guy down to $5 so I can sell them for $10, make $5 and buy some more books. She wouldn't go along with that. We have a rule in our house that if you take money for any place other than your allowance, you have to have the other person's 51% vote. That means if she doesn't say yes, I can't spend out any of these line items that I have. It's 56 line items. Now I have an allowance. I can do whatever I want to with my allowance. Now my allowance is every 2 weeks $50. She has not given me a raise in probably 10 years. now, I get everything else I want, but I can waste that money. You understand where I'm coming from? Well, I'm not picking on her, but you know, we have a line item. If it's painting your toenail, which not me, her. If she wants to get her toenails painted, or getting a haircut, if you're gonna buy grocery, for example, she gets an allowance, our grandson gets an allowance, doctor bills. I want to pass this around and show the system, and you know, I don't want people in my business, so I'm not telling you the amount. Cleaning, like the red truck. I have a certain amount of gas. Now, when we go through the budget, you got to remember, what I have on my cell phone, she has on her cell phone. And the deal is that if I spend anything, I have to put it in here. And if I don't put it in here, because we don't use cash, we do a debit card. So guess what? Every 3 or 4 days, she check up on me. And how she checks up on me, she goes into our bank account, and what is on your bank account is everything that you have debited, right? Right. And if what shows up on the bank don't show up on here, I get a lecture. We made an agreement. Let's say, for example, I buy books. I read all the time. And I will spend roughly $100 a month on nothing but books. That's just my hobby. I love to read. Now, she'll go check, and she'll say, you haven't put that book on here. You haven't put that book on here. But what it does, the system forces, because I don't want to hear, I have to be accountable to her. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. And being accountable to her, I don't want to say the reason the system is not working is because of me. So, I want to be able, I'm looking for her to trip. But she don't trip, the old girl don't trip, she's good. I'm looking for her, sometimes we have, she may go over a little bit in grocery and she say, well, we're gonna have the kids over for dinner and things. So now she has a line item in there that says, emergency food. And what that means is she wants money above her grocery bill to take care of the emergency food. Now, this system, you can get it free and you get about 5 envelopes. I got 56 envelopes and I pay $45 a year. I can look at this system and look at every transaction. Let's say, for example, Dr. Bill. The other day she was sitting there and she said, we got some money a year and a half ago back from some closure in California. I said, what was the name of it? I typed it in. I told the exact amount. I can do that from my cell phone. Every transaction of money in the house, I can look at it. All accounts. When I say all accounts, all of my investments, all of my savings, our network, I can look at it. And she watches this. When things come in at the end of the month, and it don't match what's on the cell phone, it calls for a conversation. The point I'm trying to say here, don't go out here and say, well, Mother Daniels made beat up on Jim Daniels. Don't nobody beat up on Jim Daniels. But when you see the result of something that works, you got to be a fool to turn your back on it.
Yeah.
And she is good with money. So she pays the bill. Now, I do 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm checking on Miss Brown Sugar and see where, but I can trace every dime she has spent. You understand where I'm coming from? And I'm saying, sometimes you got to come up with a system. Now, I listen to some of the young people, they say this thing about the millennium, they got their pot over there, and the other one got their pot over there. When you check both pots, neither pot's got nothing in it. So I don't care for that.
No.
I want to know that I can look at a moment's notice and see exactly what we have.
Right.
How much more time I got? That it? She says that's it, but I got one more thing. And then we're going to go to question and answer. Now, the other thing, we built, I keep this on the refrigerator. And this is the bridge that we build around our home. Crisis cash, Murphy's Law, is anything can go wrong. Always have things insured you can't replace. Pay off short-term debt. Get to the point where you don't need that job. As you walk in there, they say, hey, you can take this job. I don't need it. Tax advantage, retirement, and using our financial college savings, all the kids out of college are taken care of. Continued retirement planning, pay off the mortgage, we've done that. The only thing we have left to do is to leave a legacy of doing something to help somebody before we meet Jesus Christ. That's what I have for you tonight. And there, I'm going to open it up for question and answer. I tried to push through a whole lot of stuff in here tonight. Anybody got any questions for me?